Welcome back to the American Scouser podcast. Ale, we're never going to stop. It's Monday, the 1st of February, folks, and that means, well, at the time of recording, it means this one's a special one. It's deadline day special. So with lots to cover, here we go. We're going to start with the American Scouser LFC news in 60 seconds. I'm going to try and test myself here. Starting to speak faster now. Go. And we are off today with Matip out for the rest of the season. Ankle ligament injury, injured in the first half, win versus Spurs, 3-1 win. Moving on, we've got signing news today, hot off the presses. 20-year-old Ozan Kabak at the back. He's going to be wearing the new number 19 shirt. He joins us from Schalke. 25-year-old Ben Davies also joined today from Preston, and he'll be wearing the number 28 shirt. Sepp van der Berg going the opposite way on loan, and news still out there that Taki will be joining Southampton on loan. Not finished yet, but we're going to get that over the line, and he'll be there for the rest of the season. And LFC have added another young goalkeeper in Liam Hughes, Northern Irish goalkeeper. He's capped at the under-21 level from Celtic. And one more piece of news to round us all off. The February 16th tie versus Leipzig in Germany is being moved to where we're not sure quite yet, but the German travel ban with COVID, it will be moved. So it won't be there. And breathe. Without further ado, folks, let me introduce you, listeners. Thanks for joining us, as always. Let me introduce you to the spine of the American Scouser crew. We are back at the back with the loyal, the OG, the centre back, the armband, and resident Turkish ambassador. Cue the national anthem. It's Timuçin. How you doing, mate? How's your week been?
I'm great, man. I just brought another Turkish center back with me.
Great to have him. Great to have him. And up next, it's our main man in the booth, producer extraordinaire, Parker, our sound guy, our very sound guy, our tech guru. Parks, how's life treating you, mate?
Oh, not too bad. A lot better than that. You gave me that very warm introduction. Appreciate it, Jamie.
There you go. You know, I try my best. Last, but by no means least, we have Paul. I rate players very highly. Bickler. He is Mr. Peacock. He is our midfield maestro. How's tricks going, Paul? Well, folks, we are back in your ears once again, talking more Liverpool stuff. So last week we left you off. We were talking about Spurs. I made a cheeky comment, as I like to do, talking about Harry Kane, and let's dive right in. So let's Harry Kane right in with Harry Kane, folks. Timuçin, I said he was diving. He dived. He ended up almost breaking both his ankles. On our captain, on Hendo. Hendo knows these tricks. He knows what he's up to. He let him just do it. He let him play himself. He played himself. He folded it like a deck chair.
Yeah, I think, was it Thiago that got one of the ankles and then Hendo finished it off? I mean, honestly, he injured his own ankle in the second one. But you know what's funny about that is after the game, I kind of like go online and watch some of the videos, and I was watching the Tottenham one where they do the YouTube video, they're watching the game live and stuff. And the beginning of the second half, I swear, like, those guys were more depressed, not from the score and the fact that they were losing and their season was already on the brink or whatever. They were totally depressed that Kane was out, and they were like, the season is over if he's out for a long time. Whereas, even though I think Jose has been able to use him a lot better, I feel like sometimes they play better without Kane. But yeah, I mean, he did his thing, and Hendo knew, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but what a performance by Hendo. It's just great to have him back. I think he has been the missing piece and kind of like the turning point here, but I'm sure we'll get to all that stuff. But yeah, good old Kane. Do we know how long he's out for? I stopped following once our game was over. I do want him back so he can play against City, ideally, so that they can take some points away from them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how long he's been back. Maybe our man, our tech guru there can Google it while we bullshit further about Harry Kane. But you bring up a great point, Timuçin. Let's just dive straight into Mr. Bickler. Talk about Hendo and his ratings. Like, I mean, God, he really was brilliant. And the clips after the game of him just talking every game, every ball. He was kicking every ball. He was chasing every ball vocally. It was just a man of the match performance, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird. It reminds me a little bit of Fabinho when he went back there in his first couple games. We were like, oh man, he's crushing it. He's killing it out there. And he was like way better than anyone expected back there. I feel like we're doing that a little bit with Henderson too. Like his first couple starts, we were like, all right, he was way better than we thought. And like I thought like it was almost like, to me it was like almost overlooked how solid he was this game. I think there was a lot of other bright points, obviously, and that's probably what. But like, yeah, I don't think a lot of us understand how hard it is to completely switch position on a team and something that you're not used to playing, especially something like a back line in the system that we play that demands a lot from that position.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the game itself, the first half, there was quite a lot of early chances. Obviously, Mane misses that one first couple of minutes, and then Son gets his ruled off for VAR. But the halftime really is when it all started to heat up. Aurier just gave up at halftime there. That ball through from Hendo, he just I don't know, misses the point. He just misses his man. Mane just runs through behind him. But you know, at halftime they must have been really kicking themselves, because you could see visibly Jose getting irate on the touchline, solely because Aurier just gave up. But Mane goes through, and you know, perfect time to score. But for Bobby as well, you know, couldn't have missed it. But the second half as well, you know, we come out all guns blazing again, and Trent just latches onto a decent strike by Mane across goal, but Trent just lashes one home, and that's it. That's the game over there at 45 minutes, and we're strolling then for the rest of the game. But yeah, Timuchin, why don't you tell us about the first goal and the second goal there halftime?
One quick thing, just to interrupt before you get on that, Timuchin. According to Tottenham Hotspur's website, Jose is hoping to see Harry Kane back in a couple weeks. He reports that the news is pretty good news. After Liverpool, no idea. Then the next day, we were thinking about 3 weeks, something like that. I don't want to be super optimistic, but Harry's optimistic. He has the experience of some injuries in his ankles, and in Harry's mind, it's a couple weeks. So let's see if he's right.
That's pretty good.
Sorry, I can't make an attempt at the Jose accent, but
that's pretty good.
Waiting for that, but yeah, okay.
I can just do the I have nothing to say. If I speak, I in trouble. And then the better team lost.
Yeah, the better team lost. Yeah, throwback to over a month ago when the better team most certainly didn't lose. But unfortunately for you, Parker, that now means you're going to be getting Tottenham Hotspur news through your phone for the for the rest of the year.
Oh boy. Let me just bend it out the window now.
Thanks for that news on Harry Kane. I'm sure we're all delighted to hear he'll be back in a month's time, per Jose. But yeah, Timuchin, let's hear about the halftime, the double hit right before and after halftime.
Yeah, I thought it was shocking to let that long ball go. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a brain fart for him in that second, which kind of works for us, I guess. But it's almost like, I mean, it was the very, very last second. Almost like in NFL, you kind of like do a prevent defense. Don't let anything behind you, knowing, you know, the half is almost over. But good run. I thought we had a couple of those. And that was one of the differences. I thought the front three were making more runs, behind. So that kind of helped. Yeah, it's kind of like odds, almost like a semi-miss at cross. And all Bobby has to do is tap it in. I thought it was good for both players involved. I mean, that was probably the biggest thing that I took from the Spurs game. Is it was very good to see everyone who was semi-struggling kind of get something out of it. In terms of, Mane, the way he started the game and the missed chances, he gets an assist out of that. And then, like Bobby gets his goal, and then you see Trent getting his goal. And so, I mean, all these players that were, when we were kind of like having those games where we just didn't look ourselves, it was kind of good to see all those players get something positive out of that game. But yeah, like you're saying, and the goal we conceded, I mean, he can take that shot another 100 times. He's not hitting that corner again.
Beautiful strike.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful strike. Nothing to take away from him, but let's face it, he's not getting that again. And they probably would not have gotten a goal aside from that like wonder shots, really. But and then obviously once we got the third one, it was odd because I think, we've been joking about this on the podcast that it felt like we've been watching the same game for like 400, 500 minutes. It was odd to watch the team and it almost looked like they forgot closing out a game that we were winning. Like moving the ball around, just like playing calm and stuff. Because let's face it, it's been like 2-3 weeks since we watched that. It's always we're chasing for that goal, trying to get a goal and stuff like that. So that's been kind of nice to see this week, is watching a team kind of killing off the last 10-15 minutes of the game by keeping possession.
Absolutely. I mean, let's not spend all night talking about Spurs here. We haven't got all bloody night, do we? We've got lots of stuff to talk about. But a couple more things, Paul and Parker. First, Parker, what do you think about Mo's goal, the Dyer Bobby handball bullshit? And then we'll jump to you, Paul, and you can tell us about Mane's goal at the very end there, because 2 great points there. Parker, what do you think?
Yeah, and just again, one more interruption. As of 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, so 12 minutes ago, Takumi has joined Southampton on a loan per
So it's official.
Liverpool's Twitter page. Yep.
Good.
Yep. So as far as Mo's goal, I mean, it's good to see him back. 4 years straight of 20 plus goals in a season. Gotta love that. Good old one season wonder. Mo Salah there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. The Bobby handball, I don't think there's been more of a moment this season where I've been wanting to throw my remote through the TV screen. Especially on the replays where he was being, practically speaking, rugby tackled.
Yeah.
And it hit, I can't remember what defender it was, but it hit his hand and then
Eric
hit Bobby's hand.
Yeah, it was Dyer. It was
Dyer's,
him, yeah.
which is a pretty typical move of him.
Yeah.
But like, the reaction from people just was absolutely killing me. I saw one dude on Twitter, and I can't find the tweet now, but he essentially said something like, well, this is a really hard call one as a Man City fan. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Firmino's being held. It hit both their hands. Like, yeah, I'll give you, Bobby does give it a little bit of a guide. Valid enough point. But still, he's being like completely 100% wrapped trying to get away.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, that's why it's a tough call. I'm like, how? Like,
what gets me is that the ref actually looks over his shoulder as he's walking away from VAR, looks over his shoulder, goes back, has another look, and still doesn't see the fact that Dyer handballs it first.
Here's my issue with it. Whether it's a foul or not, to me, like, in my opinion, is Bobby getting fouled? Sure. Like, is it a handball by Bobby? Yes. But the problem is like the AFIB rule is pretty clear. It says it is not an offense if after an accidental handball, the ball travels some distance and there are several passes before the goal or goal scoring opportunity. Like, that's it.
That's black and white right there.
So, like, for me, like, there was like, I mean, I think we counted it at some point. I think it was like 4 or 5 legitimate offensive passes forward before, the goal. And like, to me, if you're going to call that back, you're really taking some serious liberty with the turn, phrase of play.
Yeah. Like,
what are you going to do? Look at the next 5 minutes in the buildup of a goal? Like, It says it right there. Like, I don't even understand why it's a discussion. To me, it's a bad call. And John Moss had no business actually calling Atkinson over to the replay booth in the first place. Yeah. Like, it should have never even gone to the booth.
Yeah. By the letter of the law, you're absolutely right. But we had the last laugh, and Mane, what a cross. What a first time finish. Just what we've been crying out for. A brilliant ball into the box and just hit it first time, and you're never stopping that. A wee bit like Højbjerg's goal. Your keeper was 3 yards away from it. Mane just absolutely cracks it into the roof of the net. And we've broke Spurs, lads. That's it. We've officially broke them. That's the Spurs doing Spurs things. But yeah, I mean, if we've got nothing else to talk about Spurs, we've pretty much hit the nail on the head. Hendo, brilliant game, chased every ball vocally and on the pitch as well, covered every blade of grass. So we can move on to the West Ham game, and then we'll get straight into the juicy gossip that is transfer deadline day. So, lads, the West Ham lineup, Matip out, of course, Div in, Shaq in, Mane out. And, we could all be forgiven for being a bit hasty to see that straight away. And it definitely, it took us the half to get into the game. West Ham obviously sat back and done their thing, which they were always going to do. But, I see a lot of, not necessarily hate, but Div's had a hard time at Liverpool. Let's talk about Divock. I know we had the hot take last week with Bickler, but I think he tried earlier on in the game and looked and tried to progress as much as he could. But the more and more we got into the game, the more and more sort of lost he was. Certainly had a few chances, and I still hope he can, air quotes, capitalize on his chance, his one chance for his season to maybe put another stake on that statue that is in the works somewhere. But if he gets one chance, let's hope he buries it, because that one that hit the bar a couple of weeks back it's still on my mind. Timuchin, talk us through it. Let's hear what we can talk about, like the capitalization of Divock, or the capitulation.
You're not gonna like what I'm gonna tell you, but dude's had his chances. I love the kid. He's like a likable dude, and obviously he's had some great moments for this club. But anybody who's like, oh, he needs more chances, he needs a run of games and stuff. First of all, on a team like this, to be able to get a run of games, you got to be able to show something when you're out there, and he has not. And he has Taki, who's now, I guess, gone, probably wishes he had a tenth of the minutes that Divock got.
I wish he had a tenth of the minutes.
Yeah, no shit.
Well, hopefully he gets them at Southampton.
And so does like Ox and stuff. So, I mean, he's had minutes, and you look at his play, and, we're going back to like what we talked about last podcast, and the dude has speed and size. And honestly, he's good with the ball. I mean, when he takes on a player, and in the beginning of the game, he makes a couple of decent runs where, Robo sees him and, like he makes the run, takes a shot, whatever, that's fine. But you watch him the rest of the game. I don't know if it's just his body language, but even during the counter pressing, he's like 70%, 75%. Yeah. There were so many times where you expect him to be, where the ball is going, and we're starting to counter press. Your role. He should be right on top of that guy. And he's not. By the time he gets there, the ball moves again. I mean, do
you remember that one little? Do you remember that one little moment where he was out on the left and he dribbles past a couple of players and he just played it into Salah, and Salah gets his shot off?
Yes.
He threatened, but he couldn't get it over the line. Like that's Div in a nutshell, really.
But here's what I think, that should be him. I mean, when he gets the ball, he should use. I mean, he can take players on. I don't know if he's afraid to. Like I say, I don't know what it is, but he definitely has his chances. And I hope, obviously when Jota comes back, he's not gonna get the chances he's getting now. Exactly. And that's gonna be, but that's what we're talking about. I mean, when Jota comes in, he took his chances and he capitalized on them, like whether scoring or, contributing to the play. I just do not, especially off the ball. I mean, I understand, most people probably when they watch, especially like an attacking player, we're kind of like looking at, are they assisting? Are they scoring? Creating chances, blah, blah, blah. But watch him off the ball. That's what probably drove me the nuts most as I was watching. I feel like he's not 100% full in there. And that's probably the most disappointing part to me. But, we kind of like, in our, chats on Discord, we kind of like talked about it at halftime. And the second half starts, that he makes that run on the left. He takes the guy on. The guy is fast as hell. So he outruns him easily and crosses a beautiful ball in. But you got to be able to see more of that. I mean, you can't just have a guy out there 90 minutes. So he's going to make one run. He's got to be able to do more of that. So I honestly do not think he'll be here next year unless, he gets more chances and makes the most of them. I just like, the thing is, if he didn't have those moments, take those, everybody, when we talk about his moments, like obviously the Barcelona game, against Everton and then the Champions League final. Aside from those, before his injury, against the Everton game, like a few years back, what has he really done that you're like, yeah, we should keep this guy?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Like you can't keep underperforming and expect people to give you the leniency. And I guess, you know, I hope the best for him, but you're probably right. The only way that we're going to see him at Anfield next year is if they do erect the statue. But all jokes aside, I have to call out Jordan Gerrard, our man Dank, because he said something hilariously funny in our private Discord chat. He said, Divock nearly took Thiago's shot away from him. That beautiful ball where Thiago plays it through and Div just slides on him. It's almost the pass is too good for Divock. Like he's a yard further left of the goal when he eventually gets to it. But I mean, Thiago again, I'm just begging for that day, Paul, that he scores one or gets one of those beautiful assists or one of those lovely goals. But it seemed like it was almost there. It seems like he's right on the cusp of it.
Yeah, it's coming. We'll get it as long as he stays out of the book. Doesn't have 2 yellows.
I love that. The man was literally bleeding. Do
you know what's crazy?
Go ahead.
What's wild to me is he makes tackles that I feel like would get called on everybody else that don't get whistled at all.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with. But I'm like, what? I mean,
even the yellow card doesn't faze him. He's still throwing in tackles. You know what I mean?
I know, but like I feel like there's this crazy love affair with Thiago, with even the referees in the Premier League, where they're like, well, he's played at Bayern. He's an amazing, talent. Like, it's almost like they ref him differently, which is wild to me. I love Thiago. I don't know if I love him as much as everybody else loves him. I'm not like one of those people that are like, oh, he's slow as play or whatever, but like, it is interesting to me, like, how much attention he attracts from neutrals and from our fans alike. Like, I mean, I know he's a talent and everything, but like, it is crazy the amount of love that people have for like a dude that's been here for like, it feels like 2 weeks.
Yeah. And the man, like, to put it so succinctly, he had a song before he even touched down on British soil. That's just sums it up there for me. But the big takeaway here from the West Ham game, guys, I'm sure you're all right there with me, is the moment Milner comes off. Milner comes off, Jones comes on, and it's fucking game over. And Milner has that moment with Klopp, and he's like, what's wrong, boss? And then 2 seconds later, they're best friends. Milner's laughing, Jones comes on, and just... So here's the thing. What Klopp's last words to Curtis Jones before he went out onto the pitch was, just go and be cheeky. Go and be your normal Scouse cheeky self. And sure enough, he grabs the game by the scruff of the neck. And 2 seconds later, Milner's laughing.
I mean, that was... I'll speak on 2 separate points. First of all, from Milner's point of view, no one likes to get taken off. Period. Right. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You hate being taken off. That's part of being a competitor. That's part of being an athlete, whether you're paid or not. It sucks. Over to Jones now. I mean, he textbook definition of hitting the ground running.
Yeah. Except
he hit the ground at a full Usain Bolt sprint.
Yeah.
And, the immediate impact, that's all there really is to it. Mm-hmm. He made an impact. He saw the opportunity and he made himself known. And that's kind of what you need from substitutions. And obviously it's unrealistic to expect that every single time a sub gets put in. But that's, to me, that's part of why subs are so important, is getting those fresh legs in there isn't only getting someone with fresh legs, someone who's ready, who's got the energy left, but it's also that little bit of tactical mindset and that little bit of just minor tweak that the other team has to make in an instant to know, okay, I was covering this guy with this play style, now I'm covering this guy with this play style. And, that is just enough of a difference sometimes that, like in this situation, allows for big things to happen.
Yeah, and it was his 20th birthday the other day, Timuchin. So fantastic. To take a man like Milner off who gave everything, doesn't look like a 35-year-old man, or is he 36? I'm not sure, but he's up there anyway. And he's been tasked with doing this job, running and being himself, giving everything and putting everything on the line. And Jurgen said something to the effect like, you need to just calm down for a minute and let's manage your game. And then he was like, okay, it's time for him to come off. And he kind of explained that to him on the sideline. But to have a young kid who, like I said, he just turned 20. So he's got that fresh exuberance and the sort of enthusiasm of having a birthday, I guess, and wanting to prove yourself on the big stage again. Like, it's just brilliant to have that on your squad, on the bench, just comes on, like Parker said, grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. His first touch was like a chest where he kind of caught it on his chin and just ran past people. Like he instilled that into the team immediately.
And I think that going back to Milner actually first, I think, from what I understood, I think he was going to probably at least stay till like the 60th minute or something like that. It was kind of like known that he was going to come out because he had like a knock or, they didn't want to risk him and stuff. And it's almost, in the first half, we even talked about it. He was the one making those runs out of midfield when like Divock and, like Shaq would like drop off and stuff like that. And we were like, man, like the slowest guy on midfield is making these like forward runs into the box. And they kind of like switched the role in the beginning of the second half so that he would not run as much and make those runs. He would not be in that position, but basically
he didn't just get that memo, did he?
Yeah. So when he comes out, like his thinking is, he's coming out earlier because he's not running. And as Klopp is explaining that, Curtis takes care of business. But I think what I like about Curtis is that, sometimes it does get him in trouble, the overconfidence, but I think that overconfidence makes him go at players.
Yeah.
And which is something we kind of lack in midfield. We have players who win the ball, press, and then, control possession, distribute, but not as much. Thiago, that's why it's kind of like almost odd when Thiago takes somebody one-on-one and gets past them, because we're not used to that from our midfield. They're more like a blue-collar midfield is what we're used to. So it's good to have that coming off the bench, kind of like Parker is saying, totally different style. Somebody comes off the bench and is going at you. That entire goal, how he set it up. Mind you, I know obviously he kind of like set it up, but that's just Salah. And I don't understand how that can't be defended, because I think everybody in this podcast, anybody who's listening to the podcast, anybody who's watched Liverpool over the last couple of years, probably when he sees Salah get that ball right there, exactly what he's going to do. So why you will let him cut in there and curve that ball? How many freaking times do you guys see that being tried? How many times has he tried that where he goes over? But how many times has he scored it? So that's just really poor defending on West Ham not to prevent that. But he still had a lot to do, and it's like a beautiful finish. So it was definitely good to see him back. But yeah, going back to your point on Curtis, I think that's like the biggest thing I see out of him. That confidence gives him kind of like the ability to go at players and take people on. And he's been given the green lights. And for a kid that age to have the green light to do that, shows how special the kid is going to be, really.
It shows how special he is, because we're talking about him as opposed to the Salah finish. We've all talked about it now for like 5 minutes. Let's say just this goal, and you were the first to bring up the Salah finish, which is an unbelievable finish. Like you said, terrible defending. The phrase that they would use back home is when you've got like 4 or 5 defenders that close together that you could throw a towel over them, you could throw a blanket over them. They're that close together, and Mo Salah was playing as if there was a blanket over them, because they may as well have not been there. He cuts in, cuts out, and just gifts one into the top corner, like we've seen him do so many times, but not as of late. But, Paul, the goal was something else. It really was. I could watch it forever, really. It was perfect. He just made them stand still.
Yeah, I think Tim kind of hit on all the main points, right? You got to know that's coming. How many times have we seen that versus just Chelsea? I feel like he scored at least 8 of those versus Chelsea alone. But it's a sweet spot. It reminds me a little bit of Coutinho. Used to have that spot where he'd bend in from the left and kind of curve that one in on the left side coming central. That's Mo's shot, man. Like that's where he likes to be. If he's not like when you think about Mo, he really has like 3 goals. He scores a pin. He scores over the top on a fast break on a 1-on-1, and he scores from that elbow area where he just kind of bends it in. Like he has 3 goals in him. I mean, they're all fantastic, but like I bet you probably like 90% of his goals that break down into those 2 categories. Yeah. So it's got to be defended better. But yeah, I mean, I agree with all the points on Curtis Jones. I mean, I think anybody who's ever heard me talk about Curtis Jones knows that I think that he's going to be a very big part of this club for a long time. And I think we touched on it a little bit, but I think what goes a little bit undervalued or unspoken is about how unusual it is for a kid of his age to have the desire to go at players like that consistently, because like he started out hot, but he hasn't always been hot. I mean, he had that period where like people were, he was starting and people were like, he shouldn't be starting. He's not ready. He's arrogant. He turns the ball over too much. He makes too many mistakes. And all that's really, really pretty consistent with just being young. Young players inconsistent, but like the sheer ability he has is one thing. But for me, it's the mental makeup that he has of just like constantly going at people. That's what I love about him.
Yeah, I think the fearlessness of youth, the arrogance of youth is definitely something that he's going to be. Hopefully, he can hold on to throughout his career, because he definitely has that ability to take on players and just leave them in the dirt. Whether that's through sheer speed, or skill, or just determination, it doesn't really matter. It's working. So let's keep it going, Kurt. But yes, as we're talking about Mo Salah, we'll stick on him just for a minute, because the second goal, guys, and we'll talk a wee bit about Shaqiri as well. But Mo Salah's hit the high notes and the highlights recently of his career, because that's his 4th consecutive season. Now we're halfway through this season, and he's already on 20 Premier League goals. So he's the first player to do that since Ian Rush. So Ian Rush done it 6 times, 6 consecutive seasons, 81 to 87. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, because basically the conversation was brought up sort of early start of the season to say that Mo Salah is a legend of the club. Now, I'm taking absolutely nothing away from what he's done for Liverpool this past 4 seasons. He's been phenomenal. My point is, and still remains, is he needs to stay for a couple more seasons to be in the conversation of players like Rush, Dalglish, the absolute best of the best for Liverpool. He's definitely up there, but just a couple more seasons is all I want from him. He's undoubtedly a legend. He probably just gets legendary status alone for what he's done, Champions League and Premier League. But what I want from it is a wee bit more longevity. I want him for as many seasons as I can have him, because it seems to be, not that we take him for granted, but if you were to be asked who's your favorite player in the squad, quite a lot of people would say Bobby, quite a lot of people would say Thiago maybe now, or Trent, or even Robbo. But I just think a couple more seasons, and he can be considered up there with Rush. Like, he's already done it for 4 seasons, but if he can do it for another one, my God, now we're talking statues. Now we're talking statue time. So lads, I don't know where you stand on that, but that was my hot take sort of start of the season. Give me 2 more seasons and he is legendary status, like up there with the best of the best.
I think that he does not get, when you go online, there are fans of Mo, there are fans of Mane, and if you ask a Mane fan, they think Mane is underappreciated. If you ask a Mo fan, they think he's underappreciated. It's just kind of like it goes back and forth, and they have brought a huge fan base along with them. There are a lot of fans who actually started following Liverpool, once those guys, became a player. I personally think one of the reasons where, we almost will need a statue where all 3 of them are on there somehow, because I think that's why you can't, when you talk back to those years, those were like some awesome teams, but Rush was Rush. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, like same with Douglas. Like you couldn't say him and him and him, even though the rest of the team was great. Those guys, like you talk about like Gerard, like they almost like shined a bit more than everybody else.
Right.
Whereas when you look at the front three, it's almost like a collective group. And sometimes, 1 week is Mane, 1 week is like a ridiculous Bobby pass to, Mane or Mo, and the next week Mo scores like a ridiculous goal and he has 2 and stuff. So it's almost like they've been putting up some ridiculous numbers that we've been probably spoiled with. And that's why Thiago is, like suddenly so popular, because it's a new shiny toy,
Right.
We're kind of like spoiled with what these front three can do on a regular basis. And I think that's what it is. That's why it's almost like he will not get his own. Even if I know personally, I see, when I look back, if I'll make it that far, but let's say years from now, when you look back at this team, you will, like, for example, but like you remember individual players and go back to them and say, hey, he was awesome and stuff. But when I look back at this team, I'm gonna always, refer to them as that ridiculous front three we had.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Individual.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to take in. Like we are a collective now. But let's jump to Parker real quick. Parker, I believe you've got a new little segment to try out on the lads here.
Yeah, so this is a segment I've been thinking we should try for a while, and I've always been really obsessed with completely irrelevant fun facts. I remember, whether it's on Facebook or early on Twitter, these pages like blew up where it's just stupid, completely irrelevant facts. But I like trivia. I like fun facts. I think it'd be a fun way to get our juices flowing during the podcast and kind of give us a breather for a second from the more serious football talk. So this week, we're going to keep it nice and simple. Who is the heaviest and the lightest player on Liverpool's squad?
All right, I'll go first.
And we'll include injured players, new transfers in, and loans out.
He said injured players, so I don't know. That's like,
I also said transfers ins and loans out. So
right.
Had to cover all the bases here, Tim.
I see. So I'll give you guys a little bit of breathing room. Heaviest will be Shaq's calves. No, heaviest has got to be VVD. Lightest has got to be Taki. Got to be Taki. Surely I'm right.
How heavy do you think each of them are? And this is more to give.
Well, you see, I won't take that answer because you guys are talking American right now, and that's above my pay grade, sir.
That's not fair. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll convert it from kilos or stones for you.
Oh, fucking Christ! All right, Burge has got to be like 18 stone. I don't know what that is in America. He's got to be like 220, 240.
Okay. And what do you say about Taki? How many stone do you think he is?
He's probably about 100 soaking wet.
Okay.
120, 130, let's say.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, he took my 2 picks. I'm trying to think on if I could, like, Taki is definitely the lightest. Okay. I just don't see, it's got to be him, unless maybe Nico. But I'm still going Taki. Heaviest. I mean, Verge is the obvious answer because he's built like a house and he's 6'4".
He's a brick house.
All right, I'm gonna go. Just to make it interesting, I'm gonna go with Virgil's the heaviest, but I'll say Divock's the second heaviest just for fun.
Okay, so just to be different for the light, Taki seems like the obvious answer. I'm hoping you picked it so that it wouldn't be obvious. So I'll go with Keita being the lightest.
Ooh,
interesting.
For I'm just trying to take the oddballs. Is there more points if I take an oddball win?
No.
Let's go with man. The heaviest has to be Van Dijk, right? I mean, just looking at the like the stature of the freaking dude, you would think it'd be him. Yeah, let's go with Van Dijk. It's really hard. I was gonna say like maybe like an oddball, like a goalie like Adrian or somebody like that, but
Could
let's-
be
let's-
Divock because he's made of solid bronze and just is a statue.
So I'll
All
go
right.
with Van Dijk and Keita. Let's see
So
what
we
happens.
got Van Dyke and Keita and 2 Van Dyke and Takamis. So I'll tell you guys all right now, none of you got the lightest player.
Oh,
And you guys, for the lightest player, you guys were off by I wouldn't say a fair bit, but
30, 40 pounds.
15-ish.
Oh.
So heaviest player is Van Dyke. It's hard to find accurate weight stats, so I'm just going off of ESPN because that had the most complete listings for all our players. The
That's
crazy
like my
thing
weight, like,
is, the crazy thing is, Van Dyke and Allison are only 2 pounds different. Van Dyke's
It's
at
the beard.
203, Allie's at 201.
He must have trimmed the
So
beard
that
that
was
day.
something that kind of surprised me.
Who's the lightest,
So
man?
the
Now I'm intrigued.
lightest, Keita's close to the bottom. He's tied for second lightest.
So
Leighton Clarkson is the lightest at 137.
Ah,
that makes sense.
And
we-
then
that makes sense.
we forgot
tied for,
about Leighton Clark-
tied for second is Robbo and Keita.
Oh,
I don't believe that. There's no way that Taki is more.
It says
than
on
Robbo.
it says on
Unless
here
he's wor-
Taki's 150.
No. Yeah, wearing armor.
I'm just going off of what I got here because like Transfer Market doesn't show weights, and the Athletics said pretty much the same as far as the
I mean, I feel like
or
Minamino
the
and-
Athletics says that Robbo's the lightest by 2.
Robbo must have been on a diet that
kilograms.
week. Wow, that is
Must have been
amazing. Fair play.
something.
I never would have guessed it, but we should have known.
All right, wait.
We should have
Wait, is
known.
it? What does it have? I see Minamino at 148.
Either way, it had Robbo at 139 and Clarkson at 137.
That's wild, dude.
That is
All
pretty.
this remind me that I gotta start a freaking diet.
I would expect.
That's all
I
I
would
got
expect
from
if
this
they
exercise.
had Harvey Elliott down on there, he'd probably be pretty far
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to continue the trend in the fun fact arena here, did you know since the start of last season, I mean, without recent form being taken into account, you would kind of think that this is bullshit. But did you know since the start of last season, Trent, our very own TAA, has been involved in more Premier League goals than any other defender in the competition? Take a guess as to how many goals he's been involved in, both goals and assists combined.
What was it for this season?
The start of last season. So since the start of last season and this
Wow.
season.
Oh. All right, who's going first?
I'll go-
Hey, wait. Is this all comps or
Yeah.
EPL? I'm sorry. My,
Goals
I
and
didn't have my
assists
listening ears
included.
on.
Yeah. So
Right, but just Premier League or
just
everything?
Premier League, correct? Just
Okay.
Premier League.
all right. Let's see. I will go.
Play at home, listeners.
I will go with 28 total. assists and
28
goals.
total. All right. Bickler in with 28. Can you go higher or lower than 28, boys?
I'll see his 28 and raise it to 32.
Ooh.
I'll see that and raise it to 46.
Well,
Jesus
you
Christ.
boys are very, very optimistic. He has had 16 assists.
Oh,
Now, do you just want to lower it a little bit? He's had 5 goals, so 21 in total. But that's higher than any other defender, so fair play to him.
He sucks. Sell him.
I
I was expecting better numbers.
I
want
really
46.
overestimated. I knew he had 13 assists last year. I guess I just overestimated what he'd done this year because I know.
and
Anyway, I want to play again.
and one more before we
Paul, I
get
promise
back
you it'd be
into
a
the
lot
juicy gossip.
stranger
Um,
fact for me next time.
All right, we'll take you on
The
that.
wheels
one.
are off. I love it. I love it.
We will take you at your word, Parks. So against West Ham, Henderson won 100% of his duels and won possession more times than any other player on the pitch. How many times did Henderson win possession?
And what's the time period for this one?
90 minutes.
Just the
Oh,
West Ham
for
game.
just this last
just
game.
one game.
The West Ham game. Okay.
Yeah.
Five.
Gosh, we're all gonna go too low now. I know it.
32.
How many times did he win back possession?
Yeah.
I'll go 8. I'll go 8.
Okay. 5, 8, Timuchin.
I'll go 11.
11 is the right answer. Ding, 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 ding. All right, folks. There you have it. That's our
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
That's our little did you know fun fact part of the show. But yeah, can we talk a little bit about the Shaqiri assist, and then we can talk a little bit about the signings. The Shaqiri assist, guys. One touch cross, Mo Salah, one touch goal. What a bloody cross that was. It looked as if Shaqiri had so much time out on that left wing that he almost stopped running. Like those calves of his, just the roadrunner calves just stopped running. And then he eventually caught up with the ball and just, he hits it first time. I was kind of shocked. And then sure enough, it lands right at Mo's feet. Like, and then just the perfect one touch, one finish. Like just, that's Mo Salah back on track now, surely, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely looks back on track, right? I mean, if we're talking about the Shaq assist, that ball gets pinged out there. It's a equally phenomenal ball from Trent.
Very
Like
true.
that whole sequence was insane. Clearance, ding to Trent, 60-yard swing to Shaq. Shaq hits the 60 yards back, and then a phenomenal first touch from Mo with his weak foot, then chips the keeper. It was like, for me, it was the only other goal. I mean, it really reminded me of the Suarez goal versus Newcastle. The one where he brought it down and rounds the keeper. I mean, Mo chips him instead of goes around him, but the sheer magic of it was very similar to like where you were just like your jaw was like on the floor. I think in terms of Shaq's part specifically, like it was, I mean, I laugh watching him anyway because he's like constantly waddling out there, and like for people that are short and fat like me, it gives us all hope. But like the fact that he hits that, right? Like, I mean, I think 95% of the people probably knock that ball into space and run onto it. But the fact that he like even had the like when he first hit it, I was like, oh no, he's overhit it, right? Like, I mean, I think he's like overcooked it. And then it falls like perfectly in stride to Mo. It's like the audacity to even try that cross, honestly, is pretty like it's impressive.
Yeah. And
But let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think Trent's pass was meant to go there to Shaq, or was he trying to hit Mo?
that's a good question because he leathers it. You know, it's off into space. Like it's way ahead of him. So he's either just trying to hit the corner flag, I think. Although you could be right, you never know. It's one of those things where you're going to have to wait for the next series of wingmen to
like Mo almost starting to move towards it, and then he sees all these bodies coming and makes a smart move and say, "I'll let them get it," and he kind of like stretches the field more, makes it even more harder to defend. But
I don't think he was aiming for. I don't think he was going for Mo, but I don't know that he was going for Shaq as much as that he knew they were on the break and he saw bodies breaking. He probably thought it was Robbo. You know, it's like, no, honestly, it's like one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, when you're breaking out of your box and like you see, you know, out of the corner of your eye, your guys are breaking. You don't know who, but you play to space.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like to me. Like he knew he had loads of players overloading that side, running down, and he knew he could feed it in space and someone's going to run onto it. That's what it looked like to me.
I tell you what I
The
did
funny thing
notice
is,
though.
the other player making the run was Hendo. Like,
That's it,
you know,
yeah.
if the ball was
That's
run
exactly
longer,
what I
he
was gonna
would've
say.
sprinted full speed.
The first player to celebrate with Salah is Hendo. And at the time, that's our center back, ladies and gentlemen. That's our centre back who's just bombed up the top of the field and is, doing his best Alisson Becker versus Man United celebration with Mo Salah breakaway goal. But I just thought it was a brilliant, all round, wonderful, epic paced goal. Unbelievable. But one more little fun fact, just for Parker's sake, lads and listeners. Xherdan Shaqiri is averaging an assist every 137 minutes for Liverpool in all competitions this season. So that's 4 assists in 548 minutes. Among the players with 500 plus minutes played for Premier League clubs in all competitions this season, only De Bruyne has a better ratio. Isn't that food for thought? It's not exactly the stat of the week, but it's crazy to think that
could be what.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that Shaqiri with the least amount of minutes. It's crazy.
I think it could be why Taki's on loan, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're finding. We played him in that diamond mid, and he did really, really well in that sort of free run spot. I mean, he's got a free kick on him. He plays right wing relatively well. He plays left wing relatively well. I think in terms of overall depth, we seem pretty committed to like trotting Origi out there up top when we can. Like, I think the minutes are going to be absorbed by him as long as we have him. I don't know that he's going to be here past the summer. I still think we likely move him. But, I mean, at this rate, he's looked really good, man.
Yeah. And quickly here, the third goal, guys, because it was another piece of brilliance. Ox to Bobby to Gini, 3-0, game over. Just a lovely, intricate little play again. Good to see Ox with a bit of confidence there to try out the back heel, and getting Bobby involved was always going to be onto a winner, and he just cuts it back for Gini, and Gini slots home possibly the easiest goal of his career, because we all know he likes an away goal, doesn't he? But Gini is one of those topics I hate to bring up. I just want to sing his song over and over again. Hope to God he doesn't leave us. Even though we've got a stacked midfield, he's just a quality player to have in there. But a quick word on Bobby Firmino and London, because we've essentially ran riot in London this week with 6 goals down there. And it was always called, when we went down to Wembley, it was always called Anfield South. And it seems like the Liverpool lads have held up with that tradition when we went down south this weekend, because Bobby Firmino in London this season has got 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. And we just ran riot. We broke London, we broke Spurs, and we done the trick against West Ham. Even though at 3-0 up, we kind of let one in. And I hesitate to say that Nat Phillips even slightly done a mistake on that goal, because quite a lot of people are saying that he ducked the header, and ducking the header is kind of like a term for just misjudging it. I don't think people actually believe he ducked it, because a central defender is not afraid of a football. You know what I mean? I think it's Declan Rice on the front post with Robbo, and they both kind of go for it, and Robbo kind of flicks it. Anyway, he misjudged it. It goes underneath it, and you can hardly fault the man, because he was pretty much faultless in that game. I just feel bad for him. He didn't get the clean sheet, because it was really an epic performance. Lads, do you have anything else to say on our trips down south this week? And then we can get straight into the juicy deadline business. Timuchin, Paul, Parker, anything? Nothing?
No, I mean, great week. Kind of puts us back in the conversation. Kind of like, gets rid of the cobwebs, hopefully, and like makes this week even more important now. So it's just good to see that. I mean, it was almost like the boys are back. So
yeah, big time. And Timuchin, you're talking about next week or this week already. We've got Brighton on Wednesday, and we've got the big game at the weekend. It's Sunday, isn't it, right, Parker? That's what you said. 11:30 local time. So that's a nice game to have on a Sunday afternoon. But there you have it, folks. That's our week summed up, so we can get to the juicy goss of today. Timuchin, you may as well start us off. The big signing, Kabak at the back. What do you know about him? Obviously, I think you said earlier he's an ex-Galatasaray player, which you're not really too keen on, but he is
No,
a Turkish
I'm not, but
national.
he was not there long enough to kind of earn my hate. I think he probably played about like half the season for him and then got like snatched up from like Germany.
But he's got a couple of caps for the national team as well, hasn't he?
Yes, he does. I mean, the thing I like about the deal overall is obviously we talked about it before, we needed center backs. And it wasn't like, we went out. I mean, the online talk was like, who's up there and stuff. And obviously they were following people. And we knew, I mean, we talked about it during the summer, like he was one of the names. We even had like a couple of articles on him on the website and stuff like that. So, I mean, we went after somebody that we were already looking at, and it wasn't like a knee-jerk buy. So that's probably like the biggest thing I like about it. The second thing is just the way it's done, along with the buying option. So it's almost like a player that we were interested in. We just kind of get to take for a test drive while filling in the spots.
In the buy option is half what they wanted last summer.
Yeah, that's brilliant too as well. Like, and I seen KFC UK and Ireland put out a tweet, and they actually tweeted Michael Edwards and Paul Joyce. I think they were replying to Paul Joyce, actually, what it was. So the tweet reads something like, Michael Edwards could walk into a KFC for a snack box, but end up walking out with a secret recipe, 2 of our fryers, and the shirt off my back, which I just thought was epic trolling, if you will. But yeah, that was in reply to Paul Joyce, who's big Liverpool aficionado. Liverpool made the 18 million option for Ozan Kabak's loan deal permanent. So unreal business. And, not just Kabak at the back, we've got 25-year-old Ben Davies from Preston, Paul. So I don't know if you've seen or heard about him too much. We've all kind of had the day to figure out what he means and what he could mean for us. I've watched one of his terrible YouTube highlight reels, which, we all have our problems with the highlight reels. You could put highlights together of me 10 years ago and I'd probably get a championship deal. Maybe not for 2 million, maybe not even for £2, but he looks to be a ball playing centre half, kind of like Kabak. I don't know if you've had the chance to look into it, but one of the YouTube videos I'm talking about in particular, one of the Preston North End fans kind of took the time to answer all these questions from many concerned Liverpool fans, because let's face it, none of us really know too much about him. But he does seem to be a quality English talent.
Yeah, I was slightly confused originally because I feel like we've been linked with like 5 Ben Davies that all go to Tottenham. So it took me a minute to figure it out. He's still relatively young for a center back. I think on paper, he looks, I think the reservation is on paper. He looks on par with Nat Phillips. So, I think they're very different players. The way that I look at it is that at this point, like, I know we do our homework on players, so there's got to be something there from a talent standpoint. The other thing is like at £2 million on a permanent, like he could come into the squad, play a handful of matches, and he's going to be third-party evaluated for 6 with Premier League experience.
Big time, because Leicester were rumoured apparently Leicester wanted him for 12 million only in the summer. The only reason we've got him for 2 million is because his contract's so close to the end that 2 million's seen as a win-win.
Right. And that's kind of where we get to the actual spirit of Moneyball, as much as I hate that term because everyone thinks that, tries to tie us to baseball. That's kind of where we get to that, where we're taking calculated risk on players that have absolutely no downside financially. So I guess that's where I look at it, is like it's a free flyer, really. It's 2 million, but it's basically a free flyer on a player that may pan out to be really nice depth for us, or may rise into the first team, or if in worst case scenario it doesn't work out, we're making 3 times what we bought on.
Yeah, and look, Celtic are pissed. I seen an interview with Neil Lennon, the Celtic manager. He used a word that I probably haven't seen since I was like 5 or 6. Gazumped. Liverpool have gazumped us.
And a translation from Irish to English is
I don't know. They've diddled us. They've cheated us.
Okay.
But yeah, it's apparently Celtic wanted him for 10 million as well. So I don't know how Edwards managed to do it. I don't know how the man goes to sleep at night. Really, honestly, it's getting to the point where
upside down.
with millions and millions of dollars warming up his mattress. But Parker, you were kind enough to bring us the news that Taki's been brought over the line to Southampton. Sepp Vandenberg's going the other way to Preston North End, which by all accounts Preston North End are having their own centre back issues. So getting rid of young Ben Davies to us probably not so good, but they're getting Sepp. Hopefully I'll get him some minutes, and hopefully Taki will get some minutes at Southampton. What's your take on those two loan outs? Because they're as important as the deals in.
Definitely. One thing I will say, I think Michael Edwards is the one behind that whole GameStop stock thing going on. There has to be that financial mind behind it. But on a serious note, so with Minamino, I just found a tweet from James Pierce saying, Minamino to Southampton for the rest of the season, loan fee $500K. Saints wanted an option to buy in the summer, but that was rejected by LFC, a loan only.
Good.
Klopp wants Minamino to get a run of games in the Prem between now and May. Still sees a future for him at Anfield, and then just a little bit of extra shenanigans. But I mean, to me, that's reading a lot more towards we just want to get him minutes, and we've got a plan for him, which I think gives credence to Paulus is going to make you happy. That might give credence to Origi being gone, because I mean, if we thought getting rid of Takumi was a good idea, they would have put that loan option in. They would not have stomped it down like they very clearly have. Now, again, that's from Pierce.
Yeah.
So it's not, a guaranteed thing, but Pierce has proven himself to be pretty damn reliable. So I think it's a good move for him. You guys know how much I love Minamino. I think he definitely needs more time to be able to shine. I think that he's not a fully developed player. He's only, 24, 25. He's not a full peak prime player yet. I think he still has some time to kind of get to that point. And I think that he can be a good player for us when he does get to that point, because he's quick. He can accelerate real quick. And if we can get him to flow with the team well and get that ball handling up a little more, he could be devious as a good feeder, as a good number 9.
Yeah.
As far as the the Sepp trade, I think loan. I think it's a good move for him. Again, I think more time, more experience is good. We're seeing that perfectly encapsulated with Harvey Elliott. I hated to see Harv go, but he's doing great things, and he's going to come back to us at the start of next season ready to kick some ass. So
absolutely. And Timuchin, Paul hinted at the Sepp maybe that it was time for him to be loaned out, and he just had man of the match. That's what Paul told us last podcast as well, against Everton. So that's good for him. But again, on the Celtic note, Liverpool seem to really have it in for Celtic this week, because we've signed their young goalkeeper from Northern Ireland, and me and you can sort of wax lyrical. You've had your turn with Kabak, your national player, and now I'll have mine with another Irish goalkeeper. Young Liam Hughes, 21, or he's capped at the under 21 level. I think he might be younger than that, but he's joining a wealth of young goalkeepers we have. Kelleher, to name one, Patulaga, the Brazilian boy, Orzunacki, I believe is how it's pronounced, the Polish fella. Maybe Mateusz would be able to confirm that for us. But we've got a wealth of youth in the ranks, and surely that's only boding well for the future. Like, all these great goalkeepers, great defenders, great midfielders are eventually making their way through, as we know with get to know Leighton Clarkson and all these other players that we've got on the fringes. and it's emphasized by the fact of, you know, Trent, Curtis Jones, all these youths breaking through. It's a great time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the more chances you take, the better chance you have that, you know, you're gonna, you know, find a star that's gonna be like a big time player for you. I mean, I think it's smart to get some of these young kids and see what happens, but that's like, you know, similar to the Sepp deal. I almost feel like the whole Sepp loan was more based on trying to seal the deal to be able to get him, you know, get Davies away from Preston. Like, you know, hey, we'll give you his replacement as well, kind of a thing, more than getting Sepp playing time. But I mean, obviously, it's a good experience for him. Taki as well. I mean, I personally think, I know like Parker's saying, you know, like he's still young and stuff like that, but I guess my biggest fear with Taki is he's not physically strong enough for the Premier League. And secondly, I feel like he requires a lot more space to be able to operate and do what he does and use his speed. Like when he played against us and, you know, he was on the counter and things like that. I think, you know, he struggles more in, you know, like tighter areas because of his, you know, like size and strength and stuff. I guess if we could turn that around, obviously, you know, he has the skills and like, you know, like he's good on the ball and everything like that. But that goes back to, you know, what we were talking with, like, you know, what Bickler was talking about earlier. Again, it's a small investment. You get him out there, plays for Southampton. I think if nothing else, I mean, it was like 7.5 million or something like that we got him for. Yeah. So, you know, if he, you know, gets a good run of games over there, I mean, he'll get another shot. And then if nothing else, you know, you sell him for more and make money on a player that you took a chance on. I mean, that's what I kind of liked about these signings that we did and the loan deals. I thought it was kind of like a good way to kind of like wrap up this January here, because you brought in 2 center backs we, despite what everybody else says, we desperately needed. They're both young. One of them is, like I say, it's like a test drive. He's Turkish. What else can you ask for? Right. And, you know, and honestly, like, you know, the kid is, I mean, he is good on the ball and he's fast and he's used to playing, you know, high lines, you know, when it was at Galatasaray and stuff like that, because they play teams that kind of sit back all the time and you kind of have to defend. And my only concern is, one, just because he's Turkish, I'm going to be this guy's freaking lawyer for the rest of his Liverpool career. But for both of them, I'm more concerned about, you know, fans kind of like just matching him up to, you can already hear, because they're not big names, neither of them are. You can already hear like the rumbles and stuff like that. And sadly, our system really puts the center backs on an island. The way we play the high line, you know, with the right back and left back nowhere to be seen. We're kind of like, you know, relying on the center backs to do a lot of work that other teams don't. So I just hope that, you know, these kids get some time. I would think Klopp is smart enough to not throw them both out there. Yeah. But my guess is, and not because he's Turkish, even though Davies is probably a lot more used to the league, I mean, it's not like Championship is that huge of a drop aside from like, you know, pace maybe. I would think we would try to get the most of our test drive with Kabak as well, to see, because we got to be able to evaluate them to see if we're going to pick up the option or not. But it was good to see them get the players that were needed and kind of like loan out these 2 guys that can, like I said, I really feel like Sepp is just more to seal the deal and then get some playing time for Taki and see what he can do in midfield. I think he will do better at Southampton because not everybody sits back against Southampton. So he will have more space and he will be able to, you know, play on the counter and stuff like that. So, I mean, we'll see. Like I say, it's a good deal overall. I'm extremely pleased with what we did. I mean, if anybody had expectations that we were going to sign some, you know, star center back for like 50, 60 million, they're not following what the hell is going on anyway. Exactly. So based on what's happening, I thought this was probably like ultimate scenario, really.
Yeah.
I think we need to clarify when Timuchin says that he's afraid he's going to have to become Kabak's lawyer. What he's really saying is he's afraid he's going to get emotionally attached to him because of his nationality and then not be able to objectively judge his performances. So
fair assumption.
Hey, I'll give you that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely attest to that with Kelleher. I'll definitely attest to that with Kelleher. I've got rose-tinted glasses when it comes to my Irish lad.
I'm sure a lot of us will when we finally get an American.
Well, you almost had an American, didn't you? We almost had an American in. We were rumored.
Yeah, I know.
But all jokes aside, lads, let's stick our neck out and let's have our say. Today we've signed Kabak. Do you think we're going to go ahead with the option to buy in the summer? Parker, let's go to you. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Tamusha, we're going to save you for last because we all know which way you're going. Paul.
What are you saying?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes at that price, because we do not like. I still think the gap between Ben Davies and Reese Williams and Nat. Well, I think Nat is going to be shopped. Still, like they were shopping him and they held on to him because of a number of reasons. They didn't get what they were looking for, and because they knew they were going to need some added depth. I think Nat goes back in the window. I think the gap is too great between starters and some of our depth. I think at that price, he's half. They wanted 35 million last window. We're going to get him for 18, knowing that we do not know what Joe Gomez is going to look like coming back. We do not know exactly what Verge is going to look like when he comes back, and we do know that Matip is probably going to get injured again in his lifetime. So, like with those things sort of all together, I think that we I can't see a way that we don't buy him unless he's just absolutely terrible, and I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we probably will take up the option to buy. And probably the only reason Nat Phillips wasn't sold was because he was supposed to be going to UNC, University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And for all those who play the fantasy football, one of our old podcasters, Chris Strain, called me the Irish Nat Phillips a long time ago. And they figured that they can't have two skinny, tall, bearded, ugly people in North Carolina because there's plenty of us out here. So that's probably why. But fair play to Chris Strain. If he's out there listening, you're always regarded back here as one of the Irish contingent of you'll never walk alone Scousers, the American Scousers. But with all seriousness, Tamushin, obviously you're taking the option to buy Kabak, aren't you?
I think so, just because of the player he is. He fits. I mean, look, Nat Phillips had a great game, but if you look at the style we play, Kabak is definitely a lot better fit. The dude is fast. He's good on the ball. I don't know how well he will be physically initially. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Bundesliga. So his last few years, I just know him more from like the national team than anything else. But I know, like I say, the kid is a lot better suited for how we play. I actually think he's more like Gomez than
he looks quite built from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, he has the speed. He is built. He can muscle people. There are times where, if a team puts their big dude on him and keeps like lobbing balls, I don't know if he's going to win the headers over him a lot, but for our style, he's a much better fit than Nat, I think. And like Vikler says, unless he's really brutal, I just don't see how they would turn out. The kid is 20, and that price is a steal for like a 20-year-old quality center back.
Absolutely. AC Milan were rumored to be in with him.
He's Turkish, for God's sake.
And he's freaking Turkish. What more can you want, as the main OG says? But all seriousness, he does look built. He looks better at heading the ball than Gomez. As we all know, Gomez doesn't really like to leave the ground too much. But yeah, from what I've seen, he looks skillful on the ball. And, this is just highlight reels. So with the poor quality music, dubstep in the background and all the rest, the lasers and explosions, and he looked really well. But then again, so did Ben Davies. But Ben Davies has played something like 250
music for these, by the way.
I have no idea. Where do they get them?
I'm like, doesn't even go with this.
A lot of them is, I can actually answer that. For a lot of them, it's either small music producers that they know, or distributions of copyright-free music that you can get online. Like I've got this website I can go to where I have literally tens of thousands of copyright-free music tracks.
Shit, they gotta dig more, man. Some of these are like,
like
turn on the volume and just watch the freaking highlights.
That's the best way to do it. Just mute it and watch the highlights yourselves and judge for yourselves.
This one website that I'm on, mid-tier site, 67,000 separate audio tracks.
Wow. You definitely got to dig through them to find a winner.
Yeah.
But all seriousness, folks, I don't think there's much we haven't covered here today. It's been great having you as listeners as always. I'm gonna leave you with one more stat that I've pulled out of the old podcast. This is one we had when Takumi Minamino first signed for us. Parker and Paul, you may not have heard this one, but Takumi Minamino actually holds a Guinness World Record.
Oh yeah, this is
For
so
all
cool.
those listeners out there that haven't heard that podcast in particular, he holds the current Guinness World Record for, guess what? The most high fives given in 1 minute. Yep, the most high fives given in 1 minute belongs to our very own Takumi Minamino, all known at Southampton, with a total of 187 high fives in a minute. So there you go. On that note, folks, as always, thanks for joining us. We're going to be back next week with more madness as per usual to talk about Brighton and the big game on Sunday. So perfect, folks. Thanks for joining us. Turn on, tune in, and cop out with us. You'll never walk alone.
Welcome.